Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please take your seats, we are about to commence. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if we could ask you to take your seats, we are about to commence. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Mr. President, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, delegates. Please take your seats as quickly as possible so we can commence. Good morning, delegates. I would like to welcome everyone to this session. We're convening this morning in order to deal with Agenda Item 5, which concerns the election of member states to be represented on the ICAO Council. Before proceeding to the vote itself, I would like to remind delegates of certain procedures that will be followed in relation to this voting session. For the purposes of the election of member states to the Council, attention is drawn to Assembly Working Paper 2, which is the relevant documentation providing detailed background information about the election, including the maximum number of seats for each part. It will be recalled that during the 37th Assembly session, which took place 9 years ago in 2010, the rules of procedure of the Assembly were amended in order to allow the use of an electronic voting system for the election of the Council, with the understanding that manual votes would remain in place as a fallback option. The Secretary General's memorandum of 26 September 2019 informs the Assembly of the names of those member states that have officially submitted their candidatures for election to the Council in parts 1 and 2 as specified in the memorandum. For the detailed procedures on how the vote will be conducted today, I intend to invite the coordinator of the Assembly and Council Secretariat, Mr. Andrew Larkos, to outline the steps involved. However, before doing so, I would like to request delegates to switch off all personal electronic equipment, including your mobile phones and laptop computers. The reason we ask you to do so is to minimize possible interference with the electronic voting system. Please be assured that access will be restored once the election process is complete. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Mr. Larkos, I now hand over to you to outline to the Assembly how we will proceed.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first voting session for this Assembly. First of all, I would like to inform delegates that the election procedures we will be following today are as following for member states to council for parts 1 and 2. The voting procedure for today will be as follows. 1, voting tablets and PIN codes will be distributed only to those delegations who have the right to vote. Number 2, for the purposes of the vote, and in accordance with rule number 43 of our Rules of Procedure of the Assembly, only chief delegates, alternates, or delegates have the authority to vote on behalf of their delegation. 3, to protect voter anonymity, delegations will be given the option to randomly choose a PIN code from one of several envelopes, but there is only to be one PIN code per delegation with the right to vote. Number 4, the names of all member states nominated for the purpose of ballot, as well as a statement of the maximum number of member states to be elected, will be provided on the electronic ballot in your voting tablet. And for the purposes of this first ballot today, 11 member states have been nominated as candidates to fill the 11 available vacancies in Part 1. So this means that you may vote for any number of candidates up to but not exceeding 11 candidate states. And an affirmative vote shall be indicated by selecting the name of the member state for which the vote is to be cast. 5, in accordance with Rule 60 of the Standing Rules of Procedure of the Assembly, to be elected a member of the Council, a member of the state must receive the affirmative vote of a majority of the total number of member states voting. And the submission of a ballot shall constitute the act of voting. As the President of the Assembly has already mentioned, we would at this time like to invite delegates to switch off all personal electronic equipment, and this includes mobile phones and laptop computers. This is so as to reduce the burden on the Wi-Fi system, as well as to minimize possible interference with the electronic voting system. So please be assured that access will be restored once the election process has been completed. We will now start screening a short video presentation on the operational features of the electronic voting system. And I would encourage you to follow this presentation closely on the overhead screens. Thank you.
To start a voting session, click the Home button on the menu bar. You can select your preferred language by clicking on the appropriate language on the menu bar. You will be presented with a login page. To activate the keyboard to enter your PIN code, tap on the top text entry box. The keyboard will show at the bottom of the screen. You can now type your PIN code. If you make a mistake while typing your PIN code, tap the backspace button located at the top right corner of the keyboard. You will have to confirm your PIN code by entering it a second time. When you are done, tap the blue Login button. You can now select the member states you wish to vote for by tapping the empty box to the left of each state name. To unselect a member state, tap the same box again to remove the selection. To scroll down the list, tap the screen and hold, then drag up or down. Once you are satisfied with your choices, tap the blue Continue button. You will be presented with a confirmation page with a list of your selection. To modify your selection, tap the gray Change button to go back to the previous page. You can now modify your selection. Once you are satisfied with your choices, tap the blue Continue button. You will be presented with a confirmation page with a list of your selection. If you are satisfied with your selection, tap the blue Submit. This will submit your ballot and will conclude the voting process. Please note that if you wish to submit a blank ballot, tap the blue Continue button without making any selection. Once you have completed the voting process, you may click the Home button on the menu bar to return to the vote selection screen. Here you may view the results of the ballot when the voting is closed, and you may start the next vote when opened by clicking Vote Now.
Thank you. Before we proceed, this is to remind all delegates that the session we are about to commence with is closed and should not be filmed. Anyone who is currently filming the proceedings, we ask you to switch off. Thank you. I would now ask all election monitors to please take their positions prior to the commencement of the distribution of voting tablets and PIN codes. There are 8 teams of election monitors that will move around the room and distribute both tablets and PIN codes to the eligible delegations. As the election monitors move into position, I would like to mention just a few more relevant points. Firstly, the election monitors will distribute 1 voting tablet and 1 PIN code to each delegation with the right to vote. In addition to the voting tablets and the PIN codes, the monitors have a list of the names of all member states. The chief delegate, or the person taking the place of the chief delegate, will be required to sign that list in